All right.
About time.
Welcome to another episode of Grind My Gears. I'm Ashton. Thank you for joining me today. Before we get started, log on to www.ashtonanddartmma.com. Get your DILF bod shirt. Represent that dad bod. That's what I'm doing. I'm starting a new movement. You know, if MILFs can get attention, so can DILFs. So log on to www.ashtonanddartmma.com. Use discount code DILF. Get yourself 10% off. Today we got Bobby Tran. What's up, buddy?
And this is why you brought me on, eh? You want me to advertise a DILF bod for you?
Advertise my DILF. Your DILF bod for me. That's what I'm talking about right there. Why can't a DILF be a muscular, good-looking fucking dude? Right?
I'm with you, man. I call it we call it DILF 2.0 at our gym.
Exactly. Yeah. And my wife was telling me apparently dad bods are like the new trend. Like a lot of people like dad bods. So I'm down.
Is it true?
I don't fucking know if it. Dude, does it matter if it's fucking true? It doesn't matter.
No,
it doesn't matter if it's true at all. That's gold for some men out there. They can't.
So what gave you the idea of coming up with a DILF bod shirt?
We were fucking driving on vacation and we thought about it. And I'm like, that's how it goes. And I'm like, you know what? I want that done. I believe in it, and that's what happened. So hey,
well, I will support. I'll make sure. Do you have DILF bod rash guards or what?
Everything's coming. Don't worry about that.
Okay, fine. I'm just trying to support you in the right medium. You know.
Yeah. How's everything going on your end?
Everything's good, man. Everything is really, really good. Despite all the obstacles that we have to jump through every single week.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get to that first because I mean. Toronto's one thing, and for those people who don't know, Bobby has an amazing business out in Windsor, Ontario. One of, if not the best fitness facilities in Windsor.
Black hole of Canada, baby.
When people ask, like, where'd you go to school? I'm like, I went to school in the shithole.
You're like, I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it. I left there for a reason. No, but great people, great place to be. But how has it been with all this stuff going on in terms of the gym, running your business, just being able to keep things afloat? Because I know it's a lot different from the GTA and the bigger city, being in a smaller city. How has things been during this time?
I think you guys definitely got the short end of the stick much more than we did, just being so overpopulated over there in Toronto. But to be honest, it's been nothing but good for our business. And I know, maybe that's surprising for a lot of people to hear.
Yeah.
And for a lot of small businesses and local businesses, it's been really, really tough.
Yeah.
But for us, personally, it gave us some opportunities to like refine what we were doing. I think this was almost like a gut check for a lot of businesses to see, what we have. Is it good enough to last, or is it strong enough to withstand this like shitstorm that we've been dealing with over the last 2 years?
Yeah.
And so this latest obstacle of vaccine passports, and I don't really want to get into the politics of everything, but
I don't want to do that either.
It's just another obstacle that we have to deal with. And we've been jumping through loophole to loophole since this whole thing started. So. It's just another day, man. Like now it's almost like we expect it. You get like this 3-4 week grace period, and you're just waiting for like, what's the next thing,
Yeah, when times like are getting normal, you're like, what wait, this
you're just it's almost too normal.
Yeah.
It's like we were in lockdown for so long, and actually like you just sending me a Zoom invite gives me some like PTSD because of how much we had to use Zoom in the last 2 years, and the last little bit I haven't touched Zoom. I had to like re-download Zoom on my laptop because I haven't used it for so long. But it seemed like for a bit there, like life was completely online. Life was remote. I literally talked with people, trained people through the computer screen.
Yeah.
And that was normal for a long time. Then once things started to let up a little bit and we were able to get back into the gym setting, it was like, what's the next big thing? Is it another lockdown? Is it, distancing in my gym? Can I have 5 people in my gym working out at a time. And
I
dude, at one point, there was a rule where the music had to be at a
remember.
certain decibel.
That's so stupid.
So
It's so stupid. It doesn't.
yeah.
Some
So
some
can you?
some.
I want you imagine like walking into a gym, right? And this like we've got 6,000 square feet at our place, so it's not the biggest gym, but it's not like a small studio either.
Yeah.
And it's like when you go into an arena that's not full. You
Yeah.
know, you go to like a concert or something, and like the seats are still empty. You're like, where the fuck is everybody? You know, and it's the same feeling when you go into a gym, and especially I feel for like gyms like Good Life or those gyms, because you walk into this massive empty space
Yeah.
and there's like 5 people working out, and now the music has to be set at a level where like I can hear you talking over the music to prevent us from spitting in each other's faces. It's crazy, man. So
Is-
the energy, you just have to figure out how to like
How did you
still stir up.
find training? How did you find the online training? Because I have my opinions on online training. Like I value it as a tool. I think it's
Sure.
great because I was heavily using it. I think we were out of lockdown in Toronto in July, August last year. So
Yeah.
that's when I had my Achilles surgery. So I was very limited mobility wise.
Yep.
I could only do some of my clients that were close to me because I couldn't drive, right? So I would have to
Yeah.
take Uber. But I was using it very much in that time. Pretty much I would sit there on the freaking computer training people for 4 hours in the
Yeah.
morning in a row. And my biggest issue with the online training and training people through Zoom and that kind of the new thing that came out of all this was that you really lose the human touch. Like
Yeah.
and I personally like how difficult it is if someone's just pick a simple movement like a squat. They're doing a squat and I'm like, no, no, turn to the side. No, no, move turn your screen up. Yeah, tilt it that there you go, perfect. Do your squat.
Yeah.
Like that kills the whole vibe of the whole workout and any flow that you have. So how do you find it as a tool? Did you find it
Um,
cool?
I probably like similar obstacles as trying to be more technical, and you obviously don't have your tactile cues anymore because that's taken away from you, right? But the good thing about it is, it's kind of like when you lose your vision, all of your other senses become heightened, right? So
Yeah.
on Zoom online coaching, I don't have the ability to put people in the positions that I want them to be in. So if someone is more of a tactile learner, not an auditory learner or a visual learner, you have to be really good with your other skills as a coach.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Zoom wasn't made for training people,
No.
right? And in like a one-on-one setting, it's okay. It's not ideal by any means, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Now, imagine you put like
20
30
people.
people,
Yeah.
20 people, 30 people, 5 people on a screen, and now you have 5 different screens that you're trying to tell everyone like, okay, you know, Joan, turn your screen this way. Mitch, your screen's too close. And you've got some people who are like standing in front of their screen, and you've
Yeah.
got another screen where the dogs kick their camera over. And it's like,
A black screen and you're like,
yeah,
what's
yeah,
on?
you've got the people who don't like to be on video, so they only tune in when like you call them out.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not ideal by any means, and like I said, Zoom was never made to be uh, a 1 to 50 person audience, and then you get like the lag time, and you're trying to play music, and people have their screens on at the same time. You're getting a clash of all these sounds. Yeah, it was not fun, but I will say that just the whole idea of online training was something that our business never really touched before the pandemic, right? So now it's like, I would say it's like 30% of our business, so I have the members at our gym, I have our personal training clients or whatever that we do in the physical space, but a good 30% of our business now is completely online. So we still do remote training for people who might be working out from home. Maybe they have a gym, where they're at, but they don't have a coach. So we still do a lot of programming remotely with people all over the world, which is, something that we would have never thought of doing beforehand. And we kind of had to learn as we went.
Yeah. Like I've talked to a lot of gym owners too during this time, and I think the ones that came out of the ones that came out of this were the ones that were able to pivot, so to speak. And when I say pivot, I don't mean like change their whole business model and leave the type of fitness or type of exercise brand they were doing before, but just say, okay, this is the circumstances we're dealt with right now. How can I still make money and how can I still keep everything going? And then
Mhm.
pivot towards that, but not sort of lose sight of what the actual business is. Like, for example, like my coach did a lot of the Zoom training with jujitsu, and let's be honest, like you can put a bag dummy in your living room as much as you want. It's not fucking jujitsu,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, he did a good job at just still being making that interest, and I'm sure it's physically exhausting too on the instructors and the teachers and the business owner because um, having to deal with all that back and forth, especially like you were saying, like with it's hard to instruct 100 people at one time. It's hard to
Yeah.
instruct 20 people at one time. It's easy to instruct 20 people at one time when they're all there and you can physically attend to them. So
Yeah.
it's taxing on the instructor as well. And so, I mean, it's not a ideal fitness setting, but I mean, the best people who made it out of this are the ones that adjusted to it. And I mean, like you said, it's become a part of your guys' revenue stream, and that's the same thing with my business. It wasn't focal point of business, and now it has become one because like I started getting clients from all over Canada doing Zoom stuff just based
Yeah.
on referrals and that kind of thing. But I wasn't even thinking about like, I was there was no part of my business plan that said, "Oh, you're going to be training online boxing on Saturday mornings with a bunch of people in Ottawa and all that." I'm like, that was never in my business plan, but it became
Yeah.
part of the business plan. So it was a blessing in disguise because that's not only a separate revenue stream, but I'm able to reach other people
Yeah.
and where I couldn't do it before. I
And
mean, so
I think people try to pick one or the other when in reality, like you can do a hybrid of both. You
yeah,
know, a lot of people that were doing the online training or they were forced to do online training, kind of vowed like they would never go back. Once doors could open back up and we can get back into the physical space, most people piled back into the space once everyone kind of felt comfortable and they weren't, you know, fearing anything that could potentially happen to them and everyone was just excited to get back and see people. I feel like Zoom and remote training kind of took a bit of a back seat, but you can use both of them together synergistically, right? Like we have a ton of people now who come into the gym that still do training online, and it might not be in the confines of like physical training, but like we still do nutrition, we still do accountability. We still do prehab work for people at home.
yeah,
And those are people that do both. So we call them like dual clients because they get training at home remotely, but then they can also still come in and get their training with the group as well. So it's not a matter of like you have to pick one or the other. It doesn't have to be an extreme. Like you might do a jujitsu lesson, on the mats in person, but you might have a one-on-one client that just wants to work on like an armbar from home,
yeah.
and you have 5 or 6 different drills that you can drill with them at home. You don't necessarily need another body there. It helps, but if this kid just wants some extra reps, like that's something that you can do.
Yeah. The one thing I found about um, martial arts training, specifically boxing and kickboxing, and teaching it online is when I'm in person and I'm holding pads, I don't, I can see the technique and I
Mhm.
can feel it, but I don't get to see it from a third person point of view.
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm at the third person point of view, I can actually see small details a lot better. I mean, obviously, depending on the position of the stupid camera and all that shit, but if I can see technical details a little bit better, so I find my ability to instruct has improved in that sense because of the third person view. So it's almost like when you sit down on like a Saturday night and watch like the Wilder fight or whatever,
Yep.
and you're like, "Ooh, that's poor defense." Like
Yeah.
holding pads for that person, I wouldn't be able to technically
Yep.
tell all the
Yep.
time. Except now I'm looking at it from a different vision, and I can.
Yeah.
So there is some sort of benefits to that model, but I think the thing that you said that was important was that hybrid sense because I've been doing that the whole time. I have in-person clients, but I still have them using my app online because there's
Yeah.
only so much time I spend with you in the gym. Like say I have a client that I spend 2 hours with, 1 hour twice a week. That's not enough time to reach most of their goals,
Mhm.
and a lot of the goals have to be done almost on your own. Accountability, so to speak. You have to do it on your own. However, some people still need that guidance and that ability to reach out to a coach whenever they need to, or be able to see their programs or have those things made up. So that online presence and being able to say open, like for me, for my business, open up your app, fucking do your workout. Simple as
Yeah.
that. If you have
Yeah.
it, if we need any changes, send me a message. I change it right away. Your nutrition's in there. There's no guesswork. You just do it, right? And
Mhm.
even though you're only seeing me 1 hour or 2 hours a week, it's almost like you're getting that guidance throughout the whole week without.
There's more touch points,
Yeah,
right? Like you're able to, and that's the whole accountability thing. Like if you have, let's say 12, 15 clients, you might see each of them on average, what, like 2 or 3 times a week. Like you have to think, what are they doing the other days that they don't see you?
yeah,
And the online part for us, that's a huge thing because they're still checking in every single day. I might not be in the gym with them physically, but I'm still checking in on them every single day. I still know, how much they're sleeping, how much they're drinking, they're eating, if they're hitting their workouts. And just to kind of touch on what you just said, being able to see someone from a different scope, through the lens of a camera as opposed to being there in person.
yeah,
It's very much like when the coaching apps first came out, right? Like if I was teaching someone a clean and jerk, to see it in person, things move at us, so fast in a millisecond that I might miss something. But if I can record that footage, slow it down, now I can go into my coach's eye and I can draw angles, I can draw lines, and now give this person something that they can review, you
yeah,
know, days later. It starts to click a little bit better because in person, you might give them a cue, they may or may not get it, and then you move on. But at least now they have like a clip of themselves. A lot of people, especially with jujitsu and weightlifting or anything where you're not doing it in front of a mirror all the time, they think they're doing it one way,
but it's done another. Yeah,
is done another way. And then they see it on camera and they're like, oh fuck, like I had no idea I was pulling the bar early or, maybe making an attempt at the submission incorrectly. But when they see themselves doing it, it's almost like another teaching moment for them where
yeah.
they're like, I thought it felt this way, but that's not the way it actually is in real life. So the video part, along with actual in-person training is a powerful tool to have, especially if you're a coach teaching something super technical.
Now you guys promote. I know you guys promote a lot of community over everything. How did that kind
Mhm.
of come into play with keeping things going during that shitty time?
Man, that was I would say that was like the bread and butter. Like we put so much emphasis back into our members and back into supporting local that you could close our doors and we're still running shit behind the scenes, and we have, luckily for me, blessed to have a community that would back us no matter what would happen. Um, it's crazy, like to think that out of the last 2 years, the number of months that as a gym we were actually able to stay open, um, should have technically crushed any small business,
Any-
especially gyms.
Yeah,
And for the most part, in our city anyway, like most gyms are still standing, man, which goes to show you that the membership, for a small micro gym or a studio can be a really powerful thing compared to something like a big, franchise gym.
yeah.
So,
They're
just kind of, yeah.
struggling right now. The big box gyms are struggling right now. I'll get into that after, but continue. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just, for us, it's just kind of fostering that connection with our members, making sure they're taken care of, and people understand. They see the news, they know what's going on.
Yeah,
It's not like gyms are choosing to close our doors. It's not like gyms are choosing to temperature check you when you come in or distance you, 5 feet away from your friend or turn the music down so you're not spitting in each other's faces. We're not choosing that. And
yeah,
people know that. Like those are just the cards that we've been dealt. And we play the game based on, trying to make sure that our members win. And as long as I think gyms kind of put that at the forefront of whatever they're doing, they're going to be fine.
yeah,
Like things might have to change. You might have to change the way that you program. You might have to change the way that your services run or how people, something simple as enter and exit your building. But as long as your priority is always going to be your members, they'll feel that and you're going to be fine.
yeah,
It's the people that like try to cut corners. Like some of these gyms, as soon as we went into lockdown, they like let some of their coaches go to try and preserve money, save money, make sure that rent is paid. And I get that. But to me, it's like, that's just not trusting in your system. It's not trusting in your community. And you're kind of pulling the plug on a lot of the people that have supported you when all this stuff wasn't around. So yeah, man, as long as you're always kind of betting on your community and you're always investing in them, and no matter what the circumstance is, that's, we haven't really felt too much backlash other than just changing our processes every 3 months,
which is annoying, but I mean, it has to be done, right?
Yeah.
To keep everything flowing.
Yeah.
Like you were saying before with the big boss, like I've seen it here in the big city. A lot of people, like you said, they like, I'm gonna call out now. I don't give a fuck. Fucking Good Life and those gyms. They were the ones that automatically started laying people off, putting people on leave. Like they're struggling right now, and it to me, I almost don't give a fuck, because it almost, especially in the bigger cities, it should apply in Windsor too. It'll drive people to the real businesses like yours, and some of my coaches and some, so they're seeing influx and more people anyway, because people don't want to deal with some of the bullshit of that corporate side of fitness. Like Good Life isn't, like, those big box gyms are in a weird position where some of them, like, I'll take Good Life for an example. They've taken the big government loan. They've basically taken the bailout money, right? So, for lack of a better term, they're at the government's whim. Like whatever they say, they have to do, because they owe the government a lot of fucking money because they took out a big loan. So whether, with the past and everything that's going on, whether you support it or not, people don't want to deal with that. They don't want to have to show papers, or maybe they had a friend that they worked out who no longer is eligible to go there, and they don't want to go there anymore, because especially because places like that have to heavily enforce it, especially in the bigger cities. And I have friends who actually work for that company, and they're telling me they're losing members upon members by the day. And as being in the fitness industry, it makes me sad, because I know, like, when you lose some of that business, some of those people aren't going to go back to exercising, and they're going to fall down the rabbit hole and go obese. But then there's the other side of me who knows the kind of business that those big box kind of run, and it doesn't really help everybody. To me, it's like, whatever. That's just more clientele available for the people who are actually going to help these people, right? Who are actually going to coach them and give them a space where they can actually thrive from. So it's a give and take, but at the same time, it's fucking weird how we're in a quote unquote health crisis, but the places that take care of your health have been ostracized and put down and beat down to the point where, like, some of them have closed, and then the ones that are still open are barely hanging on for the most part, and having to jump through hoops just to make people healthy. It's a weird fucking time in that sense, where the thing that would probably keep you healthy and safe is the thing that they're keeping you away from. And I can't verbalize how fucking frustrating and annoying it is, because it's a simple formula, but it's like they choose to ignore it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, much of what's been going on the last 2 years, I think it's hard to make sense of all of it when you look at the big picture, right? Like, if health is at the forefront, why are we closing things that make us healthy? Like, that's a pretty easy statement to make. I think when you get down that rabbit hole, there's obviously a lot of different routes that we can take with it. But
it's political. It's all politically driven. But my point being is, like, we're 2 years into it. It shouldn't be.
What makes me laugh? Remember when this first happened? They were like, "Guys, just 2 weeks to flatten the curve, man." Just
No, 2 weeks turns to 2 years.
when
Probably
I
it's
dude,
now.
when I hear that now, when I hear that phrase, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, I think back and I'm like, man, how are we so naive? How are we so stupid?
Yeah.
And now I think of how life has been impacted, since that day. I still remember we made a parody video at our gym about the coronavirus. And this was like maybe like 3 weeks before we all got shut down.
Yeah.
And the news was broadcasting most of what was happening over in China. And like now when we think of coronavirus, I don't even link it to China anymore. But when this thing first happened, it was like the only thing you could think of, right? You're like, oh, shit's going batshit crazy over in China. And this thing is spreading like wildfire. We never thought that it would make it here on our doorstep. So I remember at the gym with a couple of friends, we made a parody video of it. And like 3 weeks later, it was like getting closer and closer and closer. And then March 15th, we got the mandate to shut down. I was like, fuck, man, like, did we jinx this shit? Did we bring this shit on ourselves? And I just remember that phrase, 2 weeks to flatten the curve is do your part, wear your mask, do your part, stay inside. And that was like that little blip in everyone's lifeline. It was such a odd time, like we were ordering groceries to the house and then like wiping down our broccoli before eating it and shit.
We did that. We did that once, and my wife, the second time I brought them in, she's like, "I'm not fucking doing that." Actually, that was too
Dude,
peaceful.
remember how scared people were of other people? Like
Oh,
you'd see people drive up to your doorstep, they'd leave the box like 10 feet away from your door,
yeah.
fucking throw a rock at your window, and you see them
I don't
scoot
know.
back into their
I don't
van.
know if Windsor's like that, but people are still fucking paranoid. Yeah, I see people wearing 17 different things on their face, goggles
Yeah.
because they don't want fucking coronavirus to get in their eyes,
No,
gloves.
now I'd say now it's definitely more lax now. Like there was a point where I remember, being, stuck inside and not seeing some of your friends and seeing your family for so long. And then you see them for the first time and you're kind of like, okay, just give me like, give me 6 feet.
I
But
need
but you're used to like going up to these people and like shaking their hand, hugging them, or whatever. And I remember that first human interaction. It's like we had been stuck in a cave for thousands of years, and we didn't know what to do when we came face to face with another human being that wasn't someone in your household.
I can relate, but also I was fuck it. I was illegally doing shit the whole time. So like,
Of course, you were.
we didn't stop doing jujitsu. We
Yeah,
didn't stop doing.
Dilfbot don't give a fuck.
But don't give a fuck. So like, at some point, I knew me and my wife knew. I'm like, at some point, I'm gonna catch this thing,
Yeah.
and that it happened, and we got better, and it was fine for us. I mean, I would consider our case moderate cases. Uh,
Yeah, so how did when you found out that you had it? How deep into the pandemic were we? Was it right at the beginning? Were you kind of like in the middle?
it was right before this last lockdown, so it was probably like February, March.
And so when you got, I was just watching the Dave Chappelle
Yeah.
special yesterday on Netflix, and
I
he
was-
talked about how when he got it, he felt dirty. Did you
Uh,
did you feel dirty when you found out like the official news that you tested positive?
well, I independently tested because I wasn't gonna give the government another number to oppress people. So
Yeah.
I have a client who runs a business who does that kind of shit. So I was just like, motherfucker, I think I got this shit. Come test me. So I didn't feel dirty. I was just like, all right, I knew it was coming. Put it that
Yeah.
way. Uh,
Yeah.
because like I don't want people to think that I was being irresponsible because I do run a good business. I do test myself regularly, pretty much every week, just to make sure. Um, but I knew it was coming based on the things that I do, and those are the things that I wasn't willing to give up.
Yeah.
You can put as many mandates as you want in. I don't give a flying fuck. I will find a way to do it, or I will go somewhere where I'm allowed to do it.
Yeah.
So that's just my personality and the way my family, me and my wife deal with things. For lack of a better term, we're freedom fighter. Like I just want my freedom. So there was no way. While I do respect everybody's feelings towards everything, because I don't care if someone felt strongly towards it, great. That's your opinion, and you're entitled to it. So you can have your space and do whatever the fuck you want. But I knew it was going to happen. So it was a matter of time. It's just I didn't know how it was going to feel based on the mixed messaging in the world right now. Some people, at the start, everyone thought it was going to be like the fucking zombie apocalypse, right? Every time we heard sirens from our condo, we thought, oh, there's someone going to the hospital with COVID, like for the first 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
But that wasn't the reality. That wasn't the truth, right? And then once we did get it, it was just like, okay, this is it. All right, we're good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I didn't feel dirty. I just, like Dave Chappelle said he was feeling dirty. I didn't feel dirty. I was just surprised at how easy it was for us to get over. And when I say easy, it was significant. It was a shitty experience. Not by no means was it fucking fun. Like I wasn't like partying and stuff. But it wasn't what it was drawn up to be. And that made me a little bit more bitter towards everything that was going on.
Yeah, like if you had gotten it and it just whooped your ass and you were out for like, let's say like, 4 weeks or whatever, it maybe would have softened your views a little bit with what it's done to some of the people in the world.
I have 2 friends who professional fighters, and they hospitalized, and they came out and they still don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
I beat it and I'm good to go. You know what I mean? So in my world and in how me and my wife believe everything's in God's plan. If that was what was intended to happen to me, like I was supposed to go out with COVID, then that's the fuck it.
Take this dirty one. Take this dirty one back. Take them back to the soil.
Yeah, if that was the plan for my life, so be it. That's how I kind of live day to day. I don't really. And that's why faith is important. And I'm not trying to like push fucking God and stuff on people, but having faith in life and knowing your direction, like for me, I don't care about the little things because I know that the plan is there for me. I just have to live my life, right? I have to live and do the things that make me happy. And if it's my day tomorrow, so be it, right? But if I'm not doing the things that make me happy, I'm going to not want that day to come. I don't want it. I don't want that day to come in general. Like, who the fuck wants to die? But it's that old saying, like I'm prepared to. People like I'm prepared to die. Like, if I'm living every day to my fullest, if I'm doing all the things that I love to do in life, which I am, and I'm pursuing things that are hard and make me grind and make me fucking hate myself sometimes because it's so hard, then I'm not worried about the end because I'm living life the way it's supposed to be. And I think
if you look back at what you've done, you don't want to have any real regrets, right? Like if we both were to get taken away today, you're able to look back and say that I did the things that I wanted to do, and my family made the decisions that we wanted to make based on what we feel is right and what we feel is important. Which I think is kind of like a crossroads for a lot of people right now, is they're in some conflict with what they want to do and what they think is right, because sometimes those two things don't necessarily line up with each other. But
I was telling my coach this the other day, because we were just after we roll and stuff, we sit on the mats and talk. When you're getting your endorphin high, and I was telling him, like, people think that because I'm doing well right now, and I'm doing well, and I ain't gonna lie about it. I never lie about doing well because it took work to get here. But if COVID never came along, I would have never gotten the push I fucking needed to do well. Before, I was kind of coasting. I had my business, I had things going, but I was still making money in other areas, and I didn't need to change anything, right? But I think the old saying, tough times make tough men. And that's exactly what happened, because when COVID hit, I'll tell people this because people should know it, because it might help them in certain situations. My wife was on mat leave, and her job future was pretty grim because she's in the salon and hair industry. And it turned out that she didn't have a job to go back to. right? So I had a point in time where I was like, I have to step up as a man and fucking take care of business right now. I can't. What am I gonna do? Like I'm gonna tell this right now. I got my fucking when they locked everything down and my revenue stream went to zero for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I just dusted off my resume and was ready to fucking send it into Amazon to fucking lift boxes.
I thought you were gonna say you start stripping.
Yeah, no. People don't.
Dirty Bird makes his return to the stage.
Nobody wants to see that. But like I dusted my resume off and I fucking was ready to send it in to lift boxes and shit, right?
Yeah.
But you know, at that point I made a choice to dig my heels deep into becoming a good fucking businessman. I spent hours and hours studying. I didn't sleep for like 3 weeks because I was so fucking on edge and like, how are we gonna make money? But those are the things that make a man. Those are the things that make a good woman. Like, you know, how do you respond to adversity, right? Because it's very easy to coast. I think a lot of people were coasting through these last, you know, up until 2020. A lot of people were coasting, business wise and life wise, because life was good. Let's be honest. We live in fucking Canada. You can go to the grocery store and get food whenever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
You can swipe a little card and pay for shit. You know, most people's money gets directly deposited. They don't have to fucking do anything. Like your life is fucking easy. And then when you're faced with little adversity, especially in North America, people go crazy. Like it's the end of the fucking world. Well, really, no, it's not. You're still so privileged to live in a place like we are. So shut the fuck up and figure it out. Because like I'm meeting a lot of people who are like, oh, I've been unemployed for 8 months. I can't. No, you can find fucking work. There's work. Trust me, there's work. If you really wanted to earn money, I'm telling you right now, the restaurant industry is hurting. You can go serve tables and fucking make money. So don't tell me that you can't make money. Don't tell me that there's not work available. There is work there if you want it to be. It's just, I think we're crossing to a point too, especially with some of the subsidies that are being handed out. We're creating a lot of lazy people, right? So,
well, yeah, you got some people who, you know, if they sit at home, they can collect more money than going to work full time at, you know, a minimum wage job or whatever. So of course, people are not going to want to go out and slave away for money that they can get sitting at home on the couch.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just my feeling on everything that's going on. I don't like to get deep into it because at the end of the day, each person is fucking different, and what motivates each people is different. I just think that we're getting to a crossroads point where things are getting better. Like we all knew the virus would be, it's not going away, but we all knew that we would get to a point where things would open up and you're going to be able to return to a semi normal sort of being, right? But I think we're at a crossroads point is like some people got used to the last 2 years too much, right? So how are you going to come out of it now? Fitness wise, how are you going to come out of it? Because when I look at the scope of people's health right now, it's probably the worst it's ever been in my lifetime. Like physically, people might be okay, but we're talking about mental, emotional. All those things are important to a person's well-being, and a lot of people aren't doing well with that right now. I know plenty people, family included, who are struggling just to even re-interact with society, to get back out and do things like normal, because they've been fed this fear. And I'm like, you have to be cautious. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like I fucking had the disease. I know that it's real. I know that so you have to be careful. Like wash your fucking hands, right? It's that simple. Wash your fucking hands, and you know if you feel bad, stay at home, right? It's pretty simple rules, but getting people back out there to know that the world isn't this hazardous bio-waste, biochemical fucking place is going to be a challenge, because there's forces pulling in two different directions. We have, you know, the government saying one thing, health experts saying another thing, and then all the different experts in different fields saying other things. So it's confusing a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the gym space too, and when you put the gym in the middle of all that, it's kind of a little bit of everything. it's your physical activity for the day, which obviously, if we're trying to build immune systems, being at the gym and becoming more fit and working on your health should be paramount. But the other aside to that is just human interaction. Gyms that like ours, if you go to any kind of MMA, jiu-jitsu gym, functional fitness gyms like what I run, the community is kind of part of what you look forward to when you go. Like if you had to go to a different gym every single time you want to go roll with somebody, you wouldn't get that connection with some of the other fighters. You wouldn't get that connection with some of the other members. You don't build that connection with your coach, right? So I think that's been huge, man, because when people first got locked down and we dealt with, dealing with fitness from home on Zoom, remotely or whatever, my main concern at the beginning was like, how do I maintain everyone's physical fitness? Because that's what we do.
Yeah.
Right. That's our bread and butter, is we help people with their strength and conditioning. And by the second lockdown, my focus wasn't even on physical fitness anymore. It was like, how do I keep all of my members sane? Because everyone was going nuts staying at home. And people forget how powerful it is to be able to walk into a room of 20 people and have every single person know your name. You open up that door and everyone's greeting you, everyone's asking you how you're doing. Like that part of your social health of your lifestyle, where other people would get it from, going to bars, going to parties. We had that ingrained in our regular business. It was just not something that you would ever focus on, but that piece of the pie is so big for helping someone feel happy at the end of the day. Like you can go and get your workout in, but like if we can go and get a workout in together, it just makes it that much better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The one thing you just said was functional fitness, your business. Now I know, like when I was still there, and for a long time, you guys were more of a CrossFit box kind of. What transitioned you out of that space?
So I mean, CrossFit is run through an affiliateship. So anyone that is a CrossFit gym or a CrossFit box, if you want to call it, you basically pay an annual fee to be able to use that word in your branding. That's basically it, right? So it's not the difference between that and something like a franchise. A franchise kind of controls what you program, what your space looks like. So if you look at something like an F45, all F45s across the country kind of look the same. They use the same color schemes, the equipment's the same, the layout's the same, their programs are all the same. So when you go to an F45 here in Windsor, and then you go to one in like Burlington and Toronto, wherever, the feel is the same.
Yeah.
Different than an affiliateship where, if you come to my gym, it will be my personal flair on it, our personal flavor on it. If you go to one in Toronto, you go to one in New York, you go to one in Hawaii, they're all just a little bit different, right? Because it's kind of based on the owner, the head coach, how they program, how their space is outfitted, what you guys focus on. The culture of the gym is different. So we use CrossFit, coming out of university as a way to draw in the right people, because the people that do CrossFit are still very similar to the people that I would want in my space.
Yeah.
But after all the years of doing it, there are obviously some things that, I agree with, and there were a lot of things that I disagreed with. And part of the push that I needed to drop the affiliate was like, I was just kind of tired of explaining that, we're not a bad CrossFit gym. CrossFit's not bad for you. There are bad CrossFit gyms. There are good CrossFit gyms, but I just got tired of that conversation, man. I got tired of people saying, I don't want to get hurt. I don't feel like I'm fit enough for this yet. I don't want to go to the games. I don't want to look like that. There's just a lot of ideas behind what CrossFit is. And because of the affiliateship model and how different your experience could be going from one box to the next, it can really paint this terrible picture of what it actually is, right? The idea of it, I still love. I still love the idea behind, this use what works, scrap what doesn't ideology, which is what we do. I just now apply to CrossFit itself. I use what I like from CrossFit, and we scrap what I don't like. And we had built such a strong community of people that, a lot of them hadn't done CrossFit before, so only knew CrossFit based on what we do at our gym. But what they didn't realize is like, that's our personal flair on what we think strength and conditioning is. So when we dropped the affiliate shit, man, like that was probably one of the best decisions I could have made for our business, especially during a pandemic, super high risk time.
Yeah.
My personal ventures into a lot of this stuff is like wherever the crowd's going, I just turn around and go the opposite way.
Yeah.
You know, so probably not the smartest idea to completely.
Oh, but that's individuality. That's what separates you from other people.
Yeah.
You don't. It's easy to mush your business into what everyone else is doing, and that's what a lot of people do. Like when MMA was taking off, everyone wanted a fucking MMA gym, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so they just started a fucking MMA gym, and we put MMA workouts together. It's the same concept, but what really sets people apart, what sets your business apart, and sets mine and a lot of other people is we don't follow the crowd. We don't just do what the trend is and and I think, like you said, I had a bad vision of CrossFit from before. Not like I respect the athletes. I love the athletes that go into it and the amount of work, and it's a great thing. Like my head strength and conditioning coach, he's a big CrossFit advocate, and we had to sit down and he talked to me about it one day because I was shitting on it too much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the reason I was shitting on it too much is because sometimes I see, and I'm sure you've seen this too, there are some people who are just simply not ready for some of those things.
Sure. Yeah.
And they come into a bad CrossFit gym and they go and they do those things and then they get hurt or they just have terrible technique, terrible form, and it shows. And over time that it's not good for anybody. Right. So I think that was one of my biggest like things where I was very negative. So I shit on it. Right. But at the same time, those are fucking incredible athletes. Like, let's not sugarcoat it. Those people can do amazing things with their body, and some of those things like I can't do. Right. So I was shitting on it for a long time, but at the same time, there are some really valid techniques that are used there that are phenomenal for any athlete. And that's one of the things I wanted to touch on was like, how do you separate your recreational clientele from any like athletic people who come to you and want that athletic edge from those styles of training? But you can't do it to everybody, right? You can't provide that fitness to everybody because not everybody is geared to it, nor not everybody wants it. But that was what the traditional CrossFit model was, right?
Yeah. So anytime you have someone who has something specific that they want to train for, and it doesn't even necessarily need to be an athlete, but if you want to go that route, let's say you take someone like a basketball player who's in their off season and they're looking for extra work, and they decide, I'll go to a CrossFit gym to do my off season stuff. It's very individualized based on that athlete, so you have to look at every single person from the scope of what do they need to work on? What are we looking to improve? Where are their weaknesses? So if you get someone who is highly skilled and just very technical at basketball, but has a shit gas tank and just doesn't do well in fourth quarter, third quarter type scenarios, they might need something like work capacity, which is great during like an off season where you want to try and get them off the court, away from running, make them do things opposite to what they do normally in the season to take away some of the volume. But that's one person, right? You might get someone who is coming back from ACL reconstruction, and they need a prehab program. So to throw them into a general population-based program that's CrossFit would be idiotic. You're putting that person in harm's way, and you're not going to rehab that person the way that you're supposed to.
Does that happen a lot though? Does that happen a lot where like in the traditional CrossFit space where someone say they did come back from an injury, they're functional, like they've recovered, their general rehab is done, but then they get lumped into that space? Does that happen quite frequently?
I mean, I can't speak on
your gym, obviously.
My gym obviously doesn't do it that way. I can't speak on how other CrossFit gyms do it, but you have to remember too, like I started at the university from a sports and recreational sport training level, right? Like I started training athletes. So I know the difference between training someone who just is general population. They just want to increase their health and they want to, decrease some of the blood markers like, resting heart rate. They want to increase their stamina, whatever, versus someone who is coming from the athletic world that needs to add 4 more reps to their 225-pound bench press so they have a chance at competing for a spot in the CFL. Like those are 2 very different goals, 2 very different individuals. So they should be 2 very different training programs. Yeah. The thing with CrossFit, it's general fitness. And that's what people have to understand. So when you have general fitness, I'm not working on anything specific. So if you want to get in general shape, you want to work a little bit on strength, you want to work a little bit on conditioning, CrossFit's a great program if you build it from the ground up. I'm not throwing a new person into a class and we're doing full snatches right away, obviously. But you have to look at like the risk to reward for every single individual. So if I get a basketball player or like a volleyball player with a shoulder injury, they're not snatching barbells for time. You know what I mean? We're doing some shoulder strengthening and some muscle balance, and we're looking at where they need the work. But you might get someone who, and I've had this before, you might get an athlete who's a stud and just healthy all the way around, and they're conditioned, and all they're looking for is just a different look for the next month or so that they can get back into training and not overtrain. Yeah. And sometimes CrossFit will do that for people. Sometimes CrossFit takes away the road work of running every single day, puts you on a rower, puts you on a bike. And it's still full body movements that any person would benefit from. We're squatting, we're deadlifting, we're lunging, we're doing overhead pressing, overhead pulling. It's all stuff that you would see in a program. It's just the way that you construct the pieces is a difference maker.
Well, those are the fundamentals, in my opinion. Like I always kind of like when I get somebody new, I tell them that they'll tell me all this list of goals and shit that they want. And I'm like, okay, that's nice. We're going to get them. But in order to get them, you need to know how to squat, you need to know how to deadlift, and you need to know how to press weight. There's 3 fundamental things. Like you can't do flying Superman, clapping, spinning fucking push-ups if that's what you want to do. And if you can't press 20-pound dumbbells, right? It's as simple as that. So, I mean, the beauty of CrossFit is I see the value that it introduces these fundamental lifts to people that traditionally, if they went to a gym on their own, they probably wouldn't do. Because let's be honest, when someone goes and works out on their own side, they're not going to the squat rack as the first thing, right? Because it's hard, it's technical, and if you do it right, your legs feel like shit after, and people don't want that, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit because I think that mentality is part of why CrossFit became so popular. Like they took people off of the machines, they got people off the treadmills, and they got people away from doing lazy shit at the gym. Because one thing that CrossFit did really well, if you go into any CrossFit gym, even if people are doing things terribly, every single person in that space is working their ass off. And you don't get that, you don't get that when you go into a big chain gym. You're going to have people sitting on a leg extension on their phone, someone doing a TikTok video while they're running on a treadmill, you don't see this type of shit in CrossFit gyms, because when people go to CrossFit gym, they don't give a shit about their makeup. They don't give a shit about if their outfit is matching. People just go there to work hard. And I think that part of the intensity of CrossFit made it really popular because it taught people to work hard again. And it didn't bias like male to female. It doesn't give a shit who you are. We've got females at our gym that are stronger than males.
Oh, of course. 100%.
We've got people from, what you would consider like an elderly population who would whoop some of the high school kids, some of the university college kids. Yeah. So what I loved about it is it kind of brought people together, and there was really no boundaries, no constructs behind the kind of fitness that we were chasing. A problem with that is things like squats, things like deadlifts, compound movements that are supposed to be functional for the everyday person, right? Some people took that and they ran so fucking far with it that it negated a lot of good things that came out of bodybuilding, good things that came out of isolation exercise, good things that came out of machine-based work. And so part of leaving CrossFit was that I missed a lot of those things that they deemed were unnecessary. And I think they're slowly starting to come around now.
Yeah.
But I mean, things like bicep curls, for example. When I first started CrossFit, if you saw someone do a bicep curl in a CrossFit box,
Yeah.
it was almost like you were spitting on the church. You know, it's like, why? That's not functional. That's an isolation movement. What you're working out for aesthetics, you're not working out for performance. And then like, you know, you get someone who's developing bicep tendonitis from deadlifting with like an alternate grip or whatever.
Yeah.
And what's the prescription? You're gonna go and do some fucking bicep curls.
You gotta put some blood into that bitch, right?
Yeah. Or if you get someone who's like struggling with the pull up or struggling with a chin up, and they just keep trying to alleviate the problem by doing more pull ups and more chin ups, you might have to isolate the bicep and work on that.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of isolation exercises, I think over time, they kind of got banished from the functional fitness space. And even things like machines, like leg extension machines, hamstring curl machines, like all of those things were kind of left behind to chase this functional fitness. But what if you get someone who's, you know, 55-year-old woman who's been in a car accident and she needs to reconstruct herself, and she can't get into a hinge position because she's got a bulging disc. Are you going to try and make her deadlift with a PVC every single day? No, like you got to get her to activate her hamstring. So let's take it a step down. And there's no issue with, you know, regulating someone's fitness and meeting them where they're at. For me, I don't hate on bodybuilding. I don't hate on powerlifting. I don't hate on weightlifting, CrossFit, strongman, martial arts, whatever you want to throw in the mix, whatever works. Yeah. And whatever doesn't, you fucking scrap it. And that's our ideology. Because what works for you, squats might be great for you.
Yeah.
Might not be great for my hockey player who spent 15 years in a boot hinging over from the hip their entire life, right? Squats might not be great for that person. They might never be able to get to the point where squats feel good. And maybe they will, but it might take another 15 years to get there. And they don't want to waste that kind of time, you know?
It took me an ACL tear to squat properly. I had to have my knee reconstructed to realize I didn't fucking know how to squat. And that's the thing that it's like you said, it might take somebody 3 or 4 years to squat properly, but it's the responsibility of the coach and the trainer to find the variations that can achieve that.
Yeah. And I think that's the issue with CrossFit is the barrier to entry is so low. Like you could go write the level 1 test right now and open up a CrossFit gym next week. It's that easy. Yes. You know, there's no, it's a little bit different, obviously, with like mixed martial arts, jujitsu, you know,
they still have that.
But I mean, it's a little bit harder, right? Like you wouldn't go into a space where like your lead instructor is a white belt.
No, but you can hide that shit. Well, I'm sure you've seen some of the videos online. It's like fake black belts,
the McDojo,
McDojos.
Oh yeah,
stuff. But like, I'm not gonna because this person, there's a family member of mine, but they literally opened up a big name. They just bought the naming rights to this gym and opened up this mixed martial arts gym. They have no fucking business in the business, right? And it shows because here's my thing. Here's my problem with this is the same phenomenon from CrossFit to mixed martial arts, is that anyone can open up a fucking MMA gym. The problem with that is it's the same thing that you promote is community, right? Mm-hmm. The students normally rally behind an instructor, right? So if you open up an MMA gym and you're hiring a jiu-jitsu coach, right? You're hiring a Muay Thai coach. People gain this connection to that instructor because there's functional fitness and fitness type, but then when you talk about martial arts, it's close contact. Everything is personal. You're doing things with people at a personal level. So that when that instructor is teaching you, sometimes they're getting on the floor, this jiu-jitsu, and showing you them yourself. Sometimes you're spending hours learning one fucking technique because it's that difficult. And so you're getting that, and that instructor will stay after class. So it's a little different than like, you know, functional fitness or weightlifting gyms where, you know, class is over, you might ask a question. When you go to a martial arts gym, class is over. As long as the instructor doesn't have to leave right away, they'll stay another fucking hour and teach. right? That's just the way it is. So if you're opening up a MMA gym or a jiu-jitsu gym and you have no experience and you're hiring out all these people are building these connections with these instructors. So if that instructor finally decides, hey, I'm done with you. I'm going to go get my real value and I'm going to open up my own. But people are going to go. They're going to
Mhm.
leave, and then you're stuck with this constant turnaround. There's no community. There's no vibe, and so there's a lot of gyms like that, not just in Canada, in the U.S., probably all over the world, where people just open them up because it's just that the barrier to entry is very easy. You can just fucking
Mhm.
open up an MMA gym and put in MMA on it, and then hire people. Right? It's that simple, but you'd never really get that true community because everything varies based on that instructor. And so what I see, especially in the city here with people who have done that, is their gyms are not successful over time because they're highly dependent on experts wanting to work for them. Where
Sure.
it shouldn't be that way. The person who owns the gym, the person that runs the facility, the person that should have a meaningful connection with every fucking person that walks through that door so that they know that when they show up there, there's that community. He's here or she's here and I trust them. I love being around them. Even if they hire people to help teach, they're still there. If I learn an armbar from one guy and I need help, he'll still be able to help me, the other guy, the other instructor. That's what is missing, in my opinion, in both ends, right? Because there are people who open up gyms like yours who have no fucking business opening up. They couldn't
Yeah.
teach left from right, but they were just interested in revenue. They saw an opportunity, right?
And I think the biggest factor with what you're saying is making sure that you hire the right people.
Yes.
Because if you hire people who are interested in the service that you provide, but they're not necessarily interested in your brand or your ideology, you're eventually going to come to a
Crossfit.
day where, yeah, you come to a crossroads where you don't agree with each other. And, owning a business, and this goes for any kind of business, you will eventually cross this path when you get so successful that you can't do it by yourself anymore.
Yeah.
And I've gone through this waves of it several times where, you're by yourself. You hire your first employee. Now you've got two. Now you've got three. And you go from like, hey man, like I just need you to coach a couple classes. I'll comp your membership to how can you help me develop my brand?
Yeah.
And we call it like in our space, I call it the growth triangle. So you have like your coach, and in your case, it would be like your instructor. So like your jujitsu instructor, your Muay Thai instructor, whatever. You have the owner, who would be like the guy overseeing everything that's happening. And then you have your community or the culture behind, everything behind your brand. And so each of those three things have to see growth,
Yeah.
So for me to provide a service that I truly believe in, that I think is the best possible service for my members, I need to hire people who can deliver that product. And those people who are delivering that product need to be taken care of, because I can't expect you to come to my gym, teach jujitsu, and deliver the best jujitsu that my members have ever had and pay you peanuts.
Exactly.
Right? Because eventually you're going to be like, hey, I'm staying after class. I'm working with Karen on getting her arm bar. I've spent an extra 40 minutes every day teaching Karen how to get this arm bar.
I thought you picked Aaron.
And then bitch still can't get it, but I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm rolling with her. And eventually you're going to get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm spending these extra 40 minutes here, but now I'm missing 40 minutes with my wife.
Yeah.
I'm missing 40 minutes with my kid. It's not putting food on the table. I'm actually spending more gas to get here. And you get into this conflict of like, you take this person's passion, but you're not rewarding it with some kind of monetary reward. And although it sounds terrible, like people need to eat, man. Like, and I say this all the time, you can't run a business on passion alone. Like your business needs to be able to make money. That's like the end goal of any business. It should be to be profitable. How you get there is obviously going to be a gut check, and it's going to have your conscience into it as well.
Yeah.
But the person that is working for you, that is like, pushing your product and pushing your services and a representative of your brand, that person needs to be so well taken care of that they don't want to leave.
Yeah.
If they want to leave and do something else, it's because somewhere down the line, they felt like they weren't being taken care of, or they just felt like they didn't have a future with what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to the community, right? Like the community can always tell when there's a rift in or someone's rocking the boat, you know. They'll go through waves, and we've gone through this, you know, from experience several times, of like where you have a staff and then the staff changes up. You know, maybe you let go of a coach, maybe you hire someone else on, maybe you change the way that you do things, but the community should always be reaping the benefit of that relationship between the coach and the owner.
Yeah.
And that's how you keep things going. That's how you keep everybody happy, right? If a coach is getting paid well, they're going to have an outstanding service. If we have an outstanding service, the community is going to be really happy. If the community is happy, they're going to refer their mom, their brother, their dad, their friend. And now the money comes back into the house, and the house can pay everybody back out. You know, I can buy more equipment. I can upgrade the facility. I can pay my coach's vacation, and everything when it's working together. That's how a business like a gym or like an MMA gym becomes successful, because these businesses are not profitable. They're not easy to make money. Like owning a gym is very, very tough.
Tough business.
It's a tough bit. You know, I'll tell you why, because you will deal with people from an emotional level. You know, you develop relationships with people. Yeah. It's different than like, it's not like I own an Apple store. If I own an Apple store and you come in to my store and you're like, I want the iPhone 15 or whatever the hell they're on right now, I don't have to give you great service. I could be like, Ashton, here's your stupid fucking phone. Give me $2,000 and fuck off. Yeah. And you'd be like, man, that guy was a fucking dick. But I got my phone. You know, I got my phone. Look at the camera on this bitch. And it doesn't matter. Your interaction with me in that store has no bearing on your decision to pay that $2,000 for your stupid phone.
You went there to pay that $2,000 anyway. Right?
That's it. It's a very like, here's the product. I came here to pay for it. See you later, or never see you again. I don't give a shit. Yeah. Whereas a gym, it's like, I got to go back in here every single day. And if I have to come back in here and see this asshole every single time I come in, my experience is going to be terrible. I'm not going to want to pay $200, $300 a month to come here. This guy doesn't even know my name. So the gym business, the MMA business, if you do a martial art or any kind of service where like you said, it's a very intimate relationship with people. You get to know people really well, man. You get to know, you know, how many times have you worked with someone where that hour wasn't even about jujitsu? It was like, Ashton, man, like my job fucking sucks.
I train one guy and the hour will be over. He's like, it's been an hour already. I'm like, that's what good conversation does, man. And we're still working hard. Don't get it wrong. Like he's sweating his balls off, but the flow of the session is, it's almost like you're hanging out with a friend.
Yeah.
And you're working out too. And so, so by the time it's done, you don't even realize, and you're like, holy fuck, that was a good time. But one of the things I wanted to build off of what you just said, and I see a lot of successful gyms do it. I see a lot of successful coaches do it. My business isn't that's what you're doing yet, so I don't have to worry about it. But I see a lot of people where they have their staff and they have their coaches and everybody, and they work out together and they train together. There's a specific time. It's not like, you know, like Good Life does like building sessions, or like where they go and they learn some fucking, somebody comes in and talks and we learned extracurricular credit learning. No, fuck that. Where they actually like, okay, we're meeting at 6 or 7 o'clock a.m. before everybody comes in, before we open up. We're gonna work out together. We're gonna train together. We're gonna team build.
I love
that. And I see that in almost every successful gym and gym owner. They do those kind of things so that, like you said, their coaches feel valued. They have time to work on themselves, because it's very easy in the fitness business, especially over the last 2 years where, you know, things have been crazy, where the people who run the business lose themselves, or the coaches lose their fitness ability because they're working so much. You're on your feet all day. You're working so much that you don't want to maybe put in 2 hours of training after. So
you're burning out.
Exactly. A good gym, a good coach would say, hey, let me take care of the health of we're working out today. Everybody, 7 a.m. You're getting paid. You're going to get fucking paid. We're going to work out together. We're going to train together. Same with like an MMA and jiu-jitsu gym. come in, you're gonna train. You're gonna train and do the thing that you love to do and have fun doing it. And we're gonna emphasize that together and work on it together, and we're gonna build off of that, right? And so some of those gyms that I see that are doing really, really well have programs like that where the coaches get together, they train, and even sometimes that's where you bounce ideas off each other. That's where you
Yeah.
say, "Hey, man, you're finished your workout. I have a guy who I'm working with who's got a shitty squat. I can't seem to get it. What are you doing with your guys? Because I see they're doing really well. How are you fixing them?" And I feel like that's something that most fitness facilities are missing because they don't have
Yeah.
that connection between the employees. Like there's so many ideas when you have a room full of, for even if it's a small, say you have 5 employees, those are 5 different valid teaching people who teach, who
Yeah.
have 5 different valid teaching methods. And it's the responsibility of the owner or the head to say, let's all bounce those ideas off each other and create a space where you can do it. And I find
Yeah.
the best place to do that is when you're training, when you're working out. And because that, like, for example, like if you get a bunch of guys who are teaching to just roll, someone's going to land something and be like, how the fuck did you do that? Well,
Mhm.
let me show you. Then all of a sudden, it becomes a theme in the gym, and the
Yeah.
students love it, and all the instructors know how to teach it. So it doesn't matter who's teaching class; that same technique goes, and then a gym becomes known for their fucking rubber guard or whatever the fuck it is, or you know
Mhm.
what I mean. So I think that's a super important thing that I really hope more businesses take into account, even big box businesses, because all they do right now is, okay, our staff is going to do an extra credit day where we're going to have someone come in and talk. No, let build a workout, build something where your staff is coming in and training together and doing the
Mhm.
thing that you're supposed to do, fitness, right? Do it together, and you're going to see a ton of growth. I mean, I see it in our city. I don't know how it goes out there, but I see it in the big city where the best gyms are doing that.
I think what you'd love. So I have a guy that's on my staff. He's been in the industry for, I want to say, almost 10 years now. Just super knowledgeable guy. Any seminar or workshop that's out there, he's probably done it. So he's just like this sponge for knowledge. And it's like you said, you put 5 people into a room, those are 5 different learning opportunities, 5 different brains, 5 different ways of thinking. And recently, what we've been doing is having him just do presentations, once or twice every month, and he teaches people. So we get our staff together. He'll go over a topic. It could be like hypertrophy. It could be one that he did recently was women's training during on and off cycle and things like that. So that's a really great teaching tool to expose some of your knowledgeable coaches. It also gives some education to the rest of your staff, but it makes them come together,
Yeah.
right? And you get everybody on the same page. So someone may have thought one thing, and now you can come together, network, and decide as a team what our best answer would be, so that I'm going to use Karen again, but Karen doesn't come in, learn the armbar from you one way, come in the next day and learn the armbar totally different from me, and we can all be on the same page. But what you'd like was what we started doing recently is actually dusted off the old gi, and we've been going to jiu-jitsu together as a coaching staff. And so these guys have never done it before. They didn't even know what the hell a gi was. They didn't know what the difference between gi, no gi is. And we've just started, I say over the last 2 weeks, going to jiu-jitsu classes together. Now it's branching off into like, okay, let's go do kickboxing together. But man, it's a lot of fun. It's just like
Yeah.
doing something totally out of the comfort zone, learning something together as a team. And you should see these guys. Like they're on such a high when they come back to the gym after going to some of these classes, and
They're enthusiastic, right? And then
it's just there is an excitement kind of in the air, when like, even if I'm choking one of them out, they come back and they're like, oh my god, like, that was fucking awesome. And them getting to learn that choke, or like learn how to escape that choke, is just so refreshing for someone who's never done something like this before. And obviously, like MMA and any kind of martial art, it's super raw. It's very, very visceral. the feeling you get when you tap somebody out or you get tapped out, you're like, fuck, like that shit can get so real. Yeah. And it's a different high. It's different than like a runner's high or hitting a weight that you've never hit before, but it all kind of goes into the same category. It like elevates and piques your interest for training.
Yeah.
It makes you want to come back, and it makes you want to learn more. And it's even better when you have a group of people who want to learn the same thing. So right now, that's what we've been doing. It's been fucking awesome, man. I've actually contacted Steve, reached out back to Steve. He's still doing it. Yeah. And we've been going out and learning from him. Yeah.
But the same thing happened to me maybe like 3 weeks ago. I showed up to jiu-jitsu class and I didn't intend to teach, but like, well, while my professor was showing his technique, I was like, hey, prof, I do the same thing, but I also do this little spin, this other move on it that gets me into this maybe even better position. And he's like, come show me. So I showed him. Next thing you know, the whole class was based around the technique that I was showing.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't teaching it, but like people were asking me questions. Well, what about this? And I'm like, this, you do this. And it expanded upon what he was doing. And at the end of class, he was like, thank you for that. That was a great detail. That was a great spin on it. And people ended up liking your move more, right? Because it was more functional to what they were aiming to do. And that would never have happened if he ran an operation where you couldn't say, hey, professor, can I interject and add a little spin on it? Right. Obviously, if you're a white belt, he'll say fucking no, because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Because we saw some shit on YouTube. You're like, hey, but as an advanced student, somebody who's been there for forever and, you know, fighting at a professional level and, you know, brown belt in jiu-jitsu, he's like, no problem. Come show me. And what it ended up doing, ended up giving people a bigger technique, something that they can use not beyond what he was showing, but adding on more to it. And if you have a community where you can't do that, where people are nervous to do that, or they just don't care enough. Like the only reason I brought it up was to share it. Yeah. Not because, like, I could have just kept it to myself. Like, this is my secret technique. No, it's not a fucking secret technique. But I could have just kept it to myself. But the reason I brought it up and put my hand up and asked to share it was because I know that it would help everybody else out. But I'm comfortable in that environment. I'm comfortable with the people. I'm comfortable with the coaches and teaching other people where I'm able to open up and just say, hey, here's another spin on it. And he's not an ignorant asshole and says, oh, no, we're going to do it my way. Because there are coaches like that, right? But those are the gyms you don't want to be at, regardless of what discipline you're learning. You don't want to be at a gym where somebody has an input to make things better or another spin on it and you shut it down. Because it's not your way, right?
That's when your ego starts to get into the way of people actually learning, right?
Yeah. So before we head out, because I know you got to get to gym to coach some people, what's Workhorse Radio? Like, tell everybody what that is. I know that that's something you started, and what is that, and how can people listen to that? No.
So Workhorse Radio is our version of our podcast that we started, I would say, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah.
This is something that I've been wanting to do for probably 2 years, 3 years, maybe. And it's kind of like our podcast. It just gets pushed on the back burner over and over and over again, but eventually got it done. I think we're on episode 9 right now. And it's honestly, I had no idea what direction I wanted to go with this thing. I knew that I wanted to reflect on some fitness topics, but it's a little bit more than that. We'll talk about fitness. We'll talk about, me raising my kid. This past episode, we just talked about horror stories at the gym with people shitting. There's no boundaries on how we go with this thing. Some of it's serious, some of it's just me reflecting on some things that have happened in my life. We do a little brush up on business as well. So we have an episode where we just talk business. We have an episode where we just talk fitness. And then we do what we call Shotgun Saturdays, where people on my Instagram can go and ask their questions, and then I'll pick 3 or 4 of them and I'll answer them 1 week on an episode. So yeah, just something fun that I've been kind of playing around with, just another add-on to the business. You can find us on Spotify if you guys are looking, and Workhorse Radio, just type it in the search bar and you'll see a little barbell come up with a microphone. That is us.
That shotgun Saturday sounds like my rant episodes. Where
Yeah, so it's very, very so. So instead of me like shitting on everyone's ideas like yours,
I'm
um,
not, no, I genuinely like the whole podcast started because I was doing it a little bit before the pandemic, but
yeah,
I would go for a run, and I would just be like, okay, I'm on
yeah. I remember you used to do them on like Instagram stories, right?
live, right? And I would just be like, you know what really grinds my gears? Pineapple on fucking pizza.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah,
I know.
which I could get into that with you because I just had a fucking awesome Hawaiian pizza
Fuck you
from
with
a local place,
pizza.
and dude, you can say whatever you want, but until you try this thing,
No, my wife orders fucking pineapple on pizza. Has no business. No business. It's a fucking salt. Like, oh, we're gonna get into it right now. Fuck you. We're gonna get into the shit right. It's a
you
fucking sugary. It's a fucking fruit. No, put on my pizza. I have the.
what do you want to cancel pineapple? Is that how you feel about it?
I'm not about cancel culture. I'm just saying you put it
Just
on.
let Ashton just let people do what they want. I thought that was the whole lesson behind this podcast. It's just
Pineapple on pizza. Fuck that, man. It
I'm
doesn't.
gonna
No, no.
I'm gonna get your address after this. I'm gonna send you a pineapple pizza.
I'll fucking eat it still. I'll eat any pizza as long as there's no mushrooms. I hate mushrooms.
Oh my god, what's wrong with you?
Wait, what do you mean? It's a fungus. Would you eat toe jam between your toes?
if you're comparing toe jam to mushrooms now, we got bigger
It's
problems.
fungus. It's the same thing. It's a fungus. Anyway, but like that's how my shit got started. Because then everyone's like, "You should do a podcast." I'm like, "Okay." And then I remember Joe Rogan's advice. He's like, everyone's like, "Oh, people would be on his show and they'd be like, I want to start a podcast, but it's I don't know how to do it." He's like, "It's easy. You just put your phone on, you start talking shit into the mic."
Yeah, you just do it. And that was I listened to a podcast. They were talking about Kelly Starrett, if you know K Star.
Yeah,
And he blew up when CrossFit was getting popular because what he would do is he made a commitment to post one video every single day.
yeah.
And it didn't matter, like the quality wasn't the best. Some of them were like taken from his garage, like from his phone. The quality was terrible, but he made it a promise to himself to film one video every single day. So after a year, he had this whole library of videos. And like, I think he said it wasn't until episode like 17 or 18 that just blew up. Like he was getting like 20, 30 views. And then for whatever reason, episode 17 just like hit the heartstrings for a lot of people. And it just blew up, had like 100,000 views. And then when he got to that point, it was like every single episode that he made after the fact, it was money because people loved that episode so much. Now he had all these people waiting to see what else he had to say, but he wasn't saying anything that wasn't already out there. Like a lot of the stuff that he was doing came from the physio clinics, the chiro clinics, the rehab centers, but no one had ever bridged that gap between the gym and the clinics. And that's what he did. He taught people how to take care of themselves outside of the clinic setting. Well, and that's all he did. Yeah.
There's tons of stuff that he's done that I've stolen.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've seen his, and he's brilliant when it comes to explanation. Like in terms of coaching style, like in his videos and the stuff he explains, it's very in depth. So when I'm done watching something of his, I actually can replicate it. Whereas there's a lot of other times I have to go back 6 or 7 times to that video or that explanation or find another one. Whereas Kelly does a very good job of verbalizing, very good job at explaining. He's very brilliant mind, and I want. It's one of my goals to pick up his book, but I have these 2 fucking assholes at home. These 2 little kids. I don't get to read and shit, and I don't want it to.
Let's be honest, Ashley. You can't read anyway. Let's be honest. That's why you do
I don't
jujitsu.
want it to seem like I was some big reader before. It was one of my at the start of every year, me and my wife write down all these fucking goals. It was one of my goals to read more books. But every time I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, let me read. These fucking assholes are still up. And my daughter's like, I want to read, and I can't read. Or I'm like,
You have to audiobook it. You a big fan of audiobooks?
In the car I listen to a lot of podcasts. That's my me time is listening to podcasts and education. Sometimes I'll listen to ones that are completely stupid. I just want to laugh, but most of the time I'll pick something educational because if the 2 years didn't teach me anything, it's that there's so much negativity in the world that I need to turn something on to block that out. Because what ends up happening is if I'm listening to all that negative shit, I'll be in the car and I'll be clenching my fucking jaw the whole time. So
Yeah.
it grinds my gears what I'm listening to, and then
Yeah.
I'll get headaches and all that kind of shit. So for me, podcasts are therapeutic. So it makes sense that I'm doing this because like I get to talk to people like you and learn from you too. That's the biggest thing. Like there's stuff that we've talked about. I'm gonna take and I'm gonna imply it in my own business, implement it in my own business, and that's the beauty of this, and that's the beauty of open forum conversation, and why people need to do it more, right?
Yeah, I love it, man.
Like just sit down and talk to people, even if it's not even in your industry, you're not even interested in what the fuck they're saying. Sit down and talk to somebody because you can find value in any conversation, even if it's not going to last you a lifetime. There's something in every conversation that's going to possibly could impact your life, and that's the beauty of conversation. And how things have panned out the last 2 years, people have moved away from that, and we need to kind of get back to being able to just talk about stuff because we're losing the human side of conversation.
And I hope people that tune in and listen to this, my goal is always to give them like just one thing that they can go home with, like one tidbit of information. We've been talking for almost an hour and a half now, so I know they're not going to retain everything that we're saying, but if there's just one little thing that you can kind of walk away from this and use it to better your life, that's the whole point of this podcasting thing, right? Is to like take information that's worked for you and spread the love to the masses, and hopefully it can work for them too. But obviously, like not talking to you for, I don't even know, a decade since the last time I've actually seen you. The idea of the podcast being able to bring it together, man, has been nice. So it's good. It's all good stuff.
So yeah, it's like for people who don't know, me and Bobby haven't seen each other since I probably left Windsor because I don't have a reason to come back. But I haven't seen it. But talking to you in this, it seems like we haven't missed a beat, man. And that's that's the power of conversation, and what people should take away from this. But before I go, tell everybody where they can reach you, where if they're in Windsor or if they need an online coach, where they can get you, where they can find your information.
Yep, everything that we do branches from Instagram. That thing's like attached to my hip. So if you guys ever want to find us, DM us. Workhorse Fitness Co. is the handle. We're located in Windsor, Ontario. So if you guys are here and you're local and you want to stop by and check out the gym, you can always just, again, send me a message on Instagram and we'll set it up. Workhorse Radio on Spotify. We do personal training, group style training. We do nutrition, accountability, the whole bit. Like I said, if you're just someone who is kind of tired of the old fitness scene, you need something new, you need some people to take care of you, you're looking for a community, I think we do it. One of the best in the city. I really believe in my team. I believe in my people.
Best in the country. Stop being so fucking modest. One of the best in the country.
Yeah. I mean, we just do us. I really, for me, my business is all about taking care of my people. So if you need to be taken care of, come find us.
There you go. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the fucking buttons below. I can't tell you. I do this every fucking podcast. Every time people are like, I love your podcast, I love what you're doing. They're sending me fucking emails. You take the time out of the day to send me a fucking email. Click the like and subscribe button. It goes a long way to fucking help building this so I can do more. Stop being a dickhead. Like, share, subscribe, and that's gonna help me do more shit, fuckers. Anyway,
I'm gonna like our own podcast. That's what I'm gonna do when this thing comes out.
Subscribe, motherfucker. Also, fuck the Steelers.
Well, you know what, Ashton? We went an hour and 36 minutes, and that didn't come up one time. And I thought, okay, you won't eat pineapples, but you drink out of that dirty mug. Yep. Anyway, wish your team the best. Did you guys win this week?
We're playing tonight.
You're playing tonight?
I'm cutting a family event short so I can get my ass back home.
Who you guys play tonight?
We play the Indianapolis Colts, so we should smash those fools.
Easy win.
I'm creating a little culture in my house here. We sit like 16 weeks of the year. Or is it 17 weeks now? We sit and watch fucking football.
I just want you to know that what you guys did to the Lions was just distasteful.
Well, it happened again yesterday. Fuck.
I know. I saw. Was it from 56 yards out?
We hurt them so bad with that kick. This time it happened again, the less kick, and the coach was crying in the press conference.
Yeah, I saw, man.
All right.
Dirty.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Tune in next time. Remember, like, subscribe, share. Don't be an asshole. Thank you for joining, and peace out. Let me just.
See you, Ashton.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for watching. Please do me a favor. Click the like below. Share on YouTube. Share on Instagram. Share on Facebook. Spread the word so I can keep creating more content for you and keep providing you with a great podcast experience. Peace out.